heard him on the radio, and here we are. So, well, I found him on a Facebook, and here you are, Mr. Ford. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries.
So, people call you the hacker, the Hank, or the Hank the hacker.
Yeah.
So why would they call you? They're like, of course, you did something wrong or something right. What did you do? Maybe you can tell us about yourself.
So the funny thing about that is it actually started as like a family kind of an inside joke, but it started because around 2017, I was featured on Dr. Phil for getting into some Nest cameras and trying to kind of get a reaction from Google to fix the whole thing. And ever since then, I've just appeared on Vice, Washington Post, tons of different radio interviews talking about different hacking events. And you heard the one about colonial pipelines, I believe.
Yeah, 2-3 months ago in U.S., yes.
Yeah, so just kind of here we are, and it kind of stuck, I guess.
So did you start when you were only 10 years old?
Actually, that's pretty close.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, you're pretty well on the dot.
I didn't realize it.
Old, yeah.
Yeah, because you are, like, from your picture, you look a little older and serious. And when I just met you, and I said, no, he seems to be so young. And now you're talking about that you started that while ago. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe 10 years old, and here I am.
You know, it's funny because my dad, he always said, like, oh, some company's going to scoop you up someday. And I was like, Dad, they're not hiring hackers. But you know, here we are, and it's all self-taught, and I get that all the time.
Yeah. So really, tell us what was the age, and how did you get interested into it? Did somebody try to do something? Like, this is something so different that you got into this system. So tell us a little about the background of all this.
You know, parents are going to hate me saying this, but I think
it's okay.
A lot of what really pushed me into hacking first was video games, and trying to be able to do things on video games that other people couldn't. And that developed into making game cheat services and selling those online. And then that kind of eventually morphed into wanting to do something a little more productive trying to help people when I noticed things like these blaring holes and blaring vulnerabilities, and especially with IoT exploding right now, or IO devices, where it's just getting crazy.
So, you know, there are so many people are watching, including our good friend Sulaiman from Pakistan. Rosmin Babu, hello Rosmin Babu, thank you so much. Shafan Lalani as well, Gushan Visram as well, and 𝗃𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀 as well, and we, like of course we have Mr. Hank right now, but we're gonna have a very special and like a surprise guest after Hank. So don't go anywhere, guys. It's gonna be lots of fun today. So Hank, you know, this hacking system, like, you know, because we watch in the movies, we heard some scary stories, like, you know, from big company they got hacked into it. But now I think for the last 2-3 years we're getting a lot of phone calls from Revenue Canada, like they are of course, like, you know, of course those are the scam calls as well. So what happens? Let's say we like, you know, they can get into our system, into our Facebook, into our accounts. How, like, you know, what happens?
Well, a lot of what you're seeing now, and I think especially because of the COVID situation, has given so many people a lot of extra time online to learn how to do some of these things, and now we've got a whole new demographic of cyber criminals, and but you end up with them being able to go, and it gets as easy as buying a $20 like package to do a phishing attack, which is where
$20.
Oh yeah, it gets even cheaper, and you can do. There's hire hacker services as well for things like this. So that you know, the barrier to entry to being able to become a cyber criminal now is actually it's really low, and so that's the problem that we're facing, that police are facing, is trying to stay that one step ahead, and it really is a cat and mouse game. But what you're thinking about with these phishing attacks and asking if they can get into your Facebook is absolutely, and that's part of my job at Centurion Cyber Defense, is to phish people, and we have a pretty well 100% success rate. When hackers are looking to phish you, and if you're looking at these hire a hacker services, they're really, really trained with things like amygdala hijacking. Like they will learn and study psychology just to be able to hoodwink you into thinking that link that you're clicking is real. And so like what we've noticed a lot lately is a fake e-transfer text message.
Right.
Like getting a text message on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's offering you some kind of compensation for a refund, or we overcharged your card.
Yeah.
And what's actually happening is it's serving a fake e-transfer page, and you're selecting your bank, basically telling the hacker what bank you're with, and then submitting your credentials. And usually with that, they'll ask what goes along, a slew of questions with your two-factor authentication, and then they just have access to everything. And it's the same thing with Facebook. One most recent one that I saw on Facebook was a message that said, like, it's you.
Yeah.
And it was just a picture of, like, what looked like a YouTube video or something
Yeah,
by
exactly.
a car.
Yeah.
And you would click on it, and then you have a rogue app. It would send all your friends the message.
Yeah.
And all it would do is steal a session token, like basically your web browser's cookie. And that's what remembers your login. So with that, they don't even need to... They don't need to use two-factor authentication. They don't need to send a text message to your phone or anything. They actually use the account as you from your session.
So see, when you get these, as you said, the e-transfer things or the phone calls, or you get emails, so do they do randomly, or do they find people that, okay, we can do something with these people only? Like how do they choose people?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And it kind of like leads me into like kind of my first tip on how you can protect yourself from becoming a victim to like phone phishing or text phishing. But that's just not replying to messages. If you get random messages, just block it and don't reply. And you might think, well, obviously, Hank, but in cases where they send you something that maybe you've got a Netflix subscription, and, or just something,
or
and they're
like Canada Post, or eBay, or
Canada Post
Amazon.
is perfect. Canada Post and DHL is perfect, and they're like, text stop to stop receiving these text messages, or continue to view the info or whatever. But that's actually just telling the hacker that, this is an active number.
Nice.
Whoever's
so
on
this
here is replying.
So you have to be on top of everything regarding your contacts. They are the genuine contacts on the phone, on the email, or what e-transfers you have done. And so you have to be really, really on top of everything so that you know that you can get into that, or you should block that. So you have to be really careful about those things.
My advice for kind of keeping your, especially email and web banking safe would be definitely enabling two-factor authentication. But it's also a good idea to kind of put that extra barrier in front and no one knows about this, but by enabling call blocking. And,
call blocking, okay.
So you have call blocking, and then, but the one nobody really knows about is controlled calling. Like call control. And your phone provider will offer you call control, where you can have it where if you were to call my number right now, and you weren't one of my 20 most recent phone calls, then you would have to push a button to go through and actually access the phone line. And so if people are using these bot callers, like a lot of the time when you're getting a spam call, it's from voice over IP, so they can spoof or fake the phone number.
It's from Calgary.
They're not able to hit that number. So it's kind of an extra way. I mean, if they're doing it manually, then kudos on him for having the
That's right.
But if they're using these automated tools, which is more time than not the case, then it'll block it.
Because like you said, we get kind of in our like on Facebook messaging, okay, so you're in the video, click on it. So of course that I know that, like don't click on it, and well, I'm sure Facebook knows that as well. Okay, so if you post anything on Facebook, like any music, so they hack you, like they claim right away this is not your music, don't play, like you don't have a copyright, whatever. So how come Facebook is not taking any action? Because they can see messages are going here and there. So why don't they do something from their part, like from their side?
Again, I love these questions. So Facebook has a section on their website for white hats. If you can hack something on Facebook, they'll give you credit by putting you on this list that probably no one else knew about until now. So one day I tried to get on this list. And Facebook has a feature called link shims, which is what is supposed to stop you from being able to share malicious links. But it actually kind of enables, and this has been here since 2012, but it enables hackers to actually disguise their links now. And you can change that preview and everything. So while you think that it's a post about music, you're actually clicking on a link that's malicious, and it redirects you somewhere else. And I guess it becomes really tedious to try and introduce all of these policies into your life and your like common day practice and break these social norms. But it's good to just hover over the link and see what pops up in the bottom left of your browser. And if you're on your mobile device, then just hold your finger down on the link and then copy it and paste it in your messages, or go to 𝗟𝗚𝗚𝗏.io and paste the link there and see what it says. Half the time, if it's malicious, or more times than half, it'll tell you.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's something different I'm going to ask you. Okay, so they make these very interesting movies regarding where the banks have been hacked or some system has been hacked. So do they really hire professional hackers for that, or they make up these things?
Well, yeah, actually, on both ends of the spectrum, you end up with, where they'll hire hackers for black hat means, which is bad. So they'll hire them in an attempt to, usually state sponsored. So some foreign government will sponsor a group to go and hack, a financial institution. And then you have on the white hat side of the spectrum, you have where they'll just go and they'll pen test it to see if they can get in. And the company, they'll pay them to see if the hacker can hack them, and then they tell them how to fix it. And that's where we come in.
So, because we get phone calls from Rimini, Canada, right? Okay, so please call. This is the officer so-and-so.
Right.
So we are up to the marks now. We are up to the marks now. So how come we cannot figure it out where, all these phone calls are coming from? How come we cannot stop it? Or even RCMP or police, I'm sure they know where it's coming from. So how come it's so hard?
That's the interesting part, is half the time even the police might not know. And the reason for that is because of the ability for people to start having more flexibility with spoofing these things. So signing up for services online that give you the ability to make your phone number someone else's phone number. So something that we do at Centurion Cyber Defense when we do our phishing engagements is we'll actually learn about a company and we'll target their employees within scope, and we'll shoot them phishing emails or text messages. We might even phone call, and then you end up with trying to develop that process of hoodwinking someone into clicking on that link. And but even when we do these engagements and we're faking a phone number, it's really easy to do something like this.
Okay.
And on the other side, it's just as hard to stop something like that. So if I were to start spamming your phone with phone calls and you blocked that spoofed phone number, then I could just change to another phone number.
Exactly, yeah.
I could even call you as your friend.
Yeah. On my own number, probably you want to call me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I have another question. So we are getting very intelligent, very smart, producing all these gadgets. Now iPhone 13 is coming, and the computer is getting so advanced. The tablets we are getting so advanced in these things. But what is the reason we can't get into this system of everything is being hacked? So Why it is like that? Like, why can't we put a finger to it? Okay.
You know, I did a keynote speech about this
Yeah.
at the Vancouver International Cyber or Privacy and Security Summit.
Right.
But it was about amygdala hijacking.
Okay.
And that's a term coined by Dr. Daniel Goleman, I think in the 90s. But that's basically where, you know, the human element. There's always going to be that weakest link. And I hate to say it, but it's the human element.
Yeah.
And it's present everywhere you go. And
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
where you look at automation and SCADA or ICS or whatever, anything that's like something that's automated and doesn't have humans involved,
Yeah.
it came from a human developer,
Yeah,
a human
it is, of
programmer.
course, yeah.
Exactly.
And in fact, half these automated systems are prone to human manipulation, even through the normal internet. I mean, you can index a lot of industrial control systems, which is ICS, in Canada just on Shodan, which is kind of like a Google for hackers. And, you know, like, so I do instruction as well at the Retrain Canada side of the company. And I was doing a demo for my students and showing them how we can expose these control systems. And I went to show them, like you're saying, just like how easy it is to expose developer programs
Yeah.
in products that aren't even meant to really have human interaction. But
Yeah.
so, you know, one example would be an IP camera. It just kind of sits there. You're meant to set that up secure, or the developer is meant to at least put some kind of mitigation in front of, you know, making it user friendly in terms of protecting it. But you can browse all the webcams in Calgary through Google or Shodan.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't take, I mean, it would take a couple seconds of,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Google searching or YouTube.
So this tells that the more advanced and the technology is
Yeah.
becoming, the more exposed we are.
Yeah,
True.
cat and
Yeah,
mouse.
yeah, yeah. That's what it is, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing hidden. There's
No,
no,
nothing, no.
secret.
No,
there's no
there's
privacy.
no, nothing.
Everything is like they know
They know everything.
each and
Yeah.
everything about us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, kind of what I've learned, and especially in developing my career in cybersecurity, is that the biggest thing to put you ahead of the bad guy is awareness.
Yes.
Like, if you're aware and you can be
Yeah.
educated about kind of current attacks, you don't
Yeah.
have to know how they work necessarily,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you can be aware,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're one step ahead.
Ahead
And
of,
with awareness comes open communication. So
Yeah, yeah.
if you can, like, say you got a weird phone call or a weird link and you're
Yeah.
at work or you're at home, then, you know, imagine if it weren't out of the norm for your auntie or your grandma to call you and
Yeah.
and tell you about this weird message or weird link they received from some random stranger.
Yeah.
So it kind of develops this, like, channel of communication and a buffer between, like, your amygdala and making some, like, decision in that moment, and, you know, kind of being able to have some time to think about that and not get hoodwinked.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, let's say someone got a message or WhatsApp message or whatever, and if they click on it, what's next?
So there's a few things that could come next.
Uh-huh.
And usually the most basic, I kind of think about Israel's tool Pegasus.
Okay,
And
what's that?
that was a tool used by government agencies where
Uh-huh.
you could send a link to a phone. All you needed was their phone number,
Okay.
and you could text them a link. If they clicked the link, then then their phone would be infected. And there's a ton of cases where this tool was used against journalists, and I think the first time it was used was against El Chapo. So it's just, I think, just one, don't click the link, but two, multiple things could happen. It could be one, you could see nothing. The link could close, but all of a sudden your phone is what we call in the hacking scene beef hooked. And so that just means your phone's hacked. And
Your phone hacked. Mobile phone.
and so this ring actually kind of works the same way. If I were to, just to describe it to your viewers, it's a ring with like an NFC chip in it. So your bank card has an NFC chip in it. And if I take this ring and I were to hold on to your phone, then it infects the phone through the NFC reader.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so it's like that same kind of idea. Once it opens a URL or a specific command, you might not see anything happen. It might just be infected, and you wouldn't even know. And but on the other end of it, we have, you might face a landing page that looks like the Facebook login page, or looks like a bank login page, or maybe your email provider's login page, and that can go even further to trying to ask for you to supply signatures or supply images of personal identification, and then it gets saturated by being sold on the deep web.
So, when we pick up the phone and there is a automated voice message comes. So before they used to talk to you, now they have this system that it is automated voice message coming. So is it from that they pick up something if you saying something to them, or do they have to be talking to you to find out more about you? Like, how does that work? Because mostly these days you are getting that automated system. So how does that work?
The weird thing is that it's kind of getting more and more complex, and especially with AI getting like, I hate to say easier to access, but with AI getting better, you have the ability to develop advanced phishing tools or advanced scamming tools, and so developing systems or for scammers to make these systems with automated scripts isn't that hard. And I think it's Jim Browning on YouTube who made the same kind of thing, but in reverse. It's supposed to just wait for scam callers to call it, and it's an AI that kind of listens to what they say, and it tries to respond and delay them and waste their time for hours. And
that's right.
so it's just getting easier and easier, and especially with things like AI and automation. I think that it's probably more that we'll see the automated kind, but I think right now a lot of what you're getting is still like person to person, or someone over the phone with like a spoofed number.
So last week Microsoft, they announced, I think they're gonna delete the passwords at all, like altogether. It's gonna be if you wanna sign in, probably with your finger or probably your face, So what do you think about this idea?
I love it, and I'm happy you said that, because I've been mentioning this in interviews for I think the first time I mentioned this was a year ago, but Microsoft is ditching passwords in favor of biometrics, which is, like you said, it's like your fingerprint, an iris, your eyeball, a facial scan. I'm a big fan of it. I think that at the same time, though, that is obviously going to draw a lot of privacy concerns for people, and how are they using that data? And if you're using that data to log into a third party, how is that third party being restricted in terms of spreading that data or using it? So in terms of security, I'm a fan. I know there's going to be a lot of problems, just like there are moving into any new technology, but for privacy, I'm I cringe a little bit.
There's a problem everywhere. If you go into that system, the privacy, and if you get into this system, then
that's exactly it. It's always
hacked,
either
right?
privacy over security,
over
compliance over security,
That's right.
We can't win.
We cannot win. That's right.
So of course now the whole world is online right now. Everyone is now it's getting more and more people moving on, and of course cyber attack will increase. So do you prefer, or do you recommend any kind of a software we should download in our phones or laptop?
Oh man, if there's one thing I could tell all the viewers to download, it would be a VPN. You can pick your poison, but I recommend NordVPN. I'm not sponsored or anything, Nord, but NordVPN is really cheap. They're logless, so they won't log who you're viewing and what you're browsing. And you can use it with Netflix if you want to browse American Netflix. So, definitely if there's one thing that I could recommend to people, it would be just use a VPN.
VPN,
And especially if you're working out and about, you know, hackers can even go sit at that free Wi-Fi at Starbucks, and
Yes, I was going to ask you this.
Yeah.
My next question.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they can, you know, I can spin up, so your phone is constantly screaming out like
Right.
Yeah.
any Wi-Fi that you've connected to
Right.
and remembered.
Right.
And if I bring what we call a pineapple, it's literally just a modem
Yeah.
with a little bit of extra functionality, but if I brought that to Starbucks, plugged it into a power supply and turned it on, you would start seeing all of the networks that your phone is looking for that it's ever
Right.
connected. So, you know, in my case, it might say, hey, is Hank's home network here?
Yeah.
And if my phone is looking for that, and the pineapple says, well, yeah, I'm Hank's home Wi-Fi right here,
Yeah.
then your phone is going to connect, and
Yeah.
then you end up with, you know, a man-in-the-middle attack. So the
My
guy
God.
who's dealing with the data in the middle of the connection can view everything that you're doing. So they could watch what you're browsing, they could steal your passwords when you log in, you know, and it goes further than that. Just get creative, but what you can do on your computer, they can do as well. So
Wow. So, okay, another question. When we are, I don't know, I'm not aware of it, how far it is true, but whenever you are, your phone is sitting there or your tablet sitting there or whatever you are talking, and that thing shows up on your
Oh,
phone.
I know. I've had this happen to me so many times.
So
as
what,
well.
how does that happen?
Honestly, I can't answer. I just know it's
Oh my
weird.
God,
but
this is so
like,
weird.
So, I have a running theory, and I'm pretty sure this isn't a theory. I think that it's probably confirmed somewhere on the internet, but I probably read it somewhere. But I'm pretty sure, like, so when you're talking about something, and
Yeah.
then later in the day you see it pop up,
Pop up, yeah.
it's a lot of your browsing, you know, your browser footprint and your, I'm going to call it your ad profile or whatever data that
Yeah.
advertisers use to target you, is going to be on your IP address. And so if we are all browsing the internet right now from the same IP address,
Yeah.
then, and maybe you type in like baby, you know, baby crib, and you type
Yeah.
in, I don't know, hand sanitizer or
Yeah.
something, then me, like, you know, we might start getting some advertisements related to what you guys are searching
Because of the
we have the
same-
same digital
Yeah.
footprint
Okay.
as you.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so while you might have said it, someone else in the room might have typed it, and or you know, in some period of time between you seeing that ad and that discussion taking place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
But
this is so
that's
creepy.
a theory. So honestly, I'm like, you tell me, but
But this is so creepy, you know, like the other day we are talking, me and my both children were talking about something like
Yeah.
we wanted to get. And
then it
after,
popped up,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
It
it
just
popped
popped
up. And my daughter was so, he said, it's creeping on us, you know, this, my phone is always listening, phone is always listening.
You know, that's
I
like,
said,
but
this is so,
the creepy, it is creepy
Yeah, it
because
is.
that there maybe, you know, there could be the possibility that you're using an app, and
Yeah.
within the app's terms of services are that if the app is running in the background,
Yeah.
they can use that audio data for advertisement purposes.
oh
And
my God.
you know, not that I've heard any stories of this actually hiding in any terms of services, but
Yeah.
you know, there's been equally creepy things with apps like TikTok and Snapchat
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
and we all know. Well, you know, there was a huge problem with Facebook and privacy
Yes,
last
yes,
year,
yes,
and,
that's
and
right.
well, I think that's still going. So, you know, it just kind of, I don't know, it
Yeah,
speaks
yeah,
really
yeah.
well to that.
So you know, nowadays, you know, we have like, you know, so many apps right now on the phone
Mm-hmm.
for everything. And of course, you know, when you like, you know, when you download apps, so it asks you, please read this, or if you agree on this and this. And of course, we never read that. We always say yes,
Yeah.
you know, agree. Is that safe to do it?
No, man, and especially because, you know, if you're on an Android, if you're downloading unknown sources or if you're agreeing to things haphazardly, again, just like that example we just had, you could have an app, I call them rogue apps, but you could have an app that's doing something like some potentially unwanted activity in the background, and like recording your camera, your audio without you knowing.
Yeah.
But you've agreed to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you wouldn't actually if you knew
Yeah.
that that's
Yeah.
what it's doing. But who's going to spend like 5 hours sitting there
Reading
reading? a whole-
Exactly.
The whole thing,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And now,
it's not safe. But
No.
what
We
choice
do
do you
it.
have?
We still do it.
and just the last question. Like nowadays, like we see a lot of phones are coming in. Like there's a new iPhone came, and then the Samsung, like Galaxy came, and every 6 months there is a new phone coming out. And of course, so then security, I think they're alert, or like security things change as well. So what are we supposed to do as a consumer?
I mean, honestly, if you can keep your device up to date, that's pretty much it. You know,
That's the best thing.
You're relying at this point on the security of the vendor, and
Right.
like as far as I can go, there would be Apple seems to be like a smaller hole in the boat than Android.
Yeah.
They're both holes in the boat, but
Yeah.
so they're both problems, but one tends to be a little safer than the other, and by that I mean like Apple tends to be a little bit safer than the
Sure.
other, but even then, it's only as safe as like how aware you are, as safe as your false sense of security, I guess,
Yeah,
because I even have Apple chargers, like looks just like an Apple charging
charger.
cable, but it could infect your phone or vice versa. You plug it into your computer, it could infect the computer. And
So you're telling us, so we're not supposed to buy anything from Amazon?
that's, I was actually that's my next point is there's fulfillment with Amazon. So
Yeah.
technically speaking, I could go and repackage these Apple chargers
Right.
Yeah.
and send them through Amazon.
Yeah.
And so these are the kind of problems we're trying to solve at Centurion Cyber Defense, and we're working on trying to release products to try and fight this. And but right now it's like that's a huge problem.
Yes.
Having imagine if, and it's not too hard to think with cyber attacks increasing, if there were an advanced persistent threat that were sponsored by a foreign entity to
Yeah.
try and send in a bunch, like thousands of infected cables to North America, like that's totally realistic, and people don't realize that
Yeah.
just like your little charging cable can
Yeah.
infect your phone or your computer, and the
Wow.
scariest thing is not only can it infect things, but they can further manipulate that cable because it has a Wi-Fi antenna in it. In that tiny little cable, there's a Wi-Fi antenna. And so it's just...
Oh, God. What do we do? Where do we go?
Period. We should not be using nothing.
No.
Yeah, there are people I know who survive without a phone and
No, I
nothing,
know.
nothing. And they say, why do we need all these things? This is, they're bad for our privacy or this and that. And they just carry it, okay, emergency call, and that's about they use that. phone.
I don't blame them.
Yeah,
For
this is-
years until
yeah.
I got a job here at Centurion, I didn't hold a phone on
Yeah,
me.
we-
But they just couldn't get a hold of me, so now I have a phone, but it's an Apple. So if anyone
Yeah.
wants to know what I use, it's an Apple.
Oh, it's so
Not by
we
choice.
can keep on talking to him. Got so many questions in my mind, but we should have him again.
Again, yeah, well, maybe
we
we
will
can
have
bring
you
it
again.
back.
Oh,
and-
absolutely. I'd love to anytime.
And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
will be lots of different questions coming to your mind when you're talking to you. Then those questions are forming in your mind. You said, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him this, I'm going to ask him that. But
Yeah,
it's so
we
interesting.
talked before, before the air, we came on air about the U.S. oil company, Colonial. What happened there?
So Colonial Pipelines, that was like, they labeled it, they branded it as an advanced persistent threat from Russia, I believe. But there's arguments on whether it was like a state-sponsored or if it was delinquent. But, really it was really simple attack. And by that I mean, the service that was hacked
Yeah.
had a really easy and publicly accessible vulnerability that would have taken very little to know, like tech know-how to make it run. I mean, you could watch a YouTube video on how to make this script work,
Oh my God.
and then just kind of follow step 1, 2, and 3, but change the details for Colonial, and then Bob's your uncle. You got Colonial Pipeline.
Yeah, like your system is gone.
Yeah, and so in this case,
My God.
I'm pretty sure it was a really weak password, or maybe I might be confusing that. It might have been the RDP service, but it was a really weak vulnerability, and I think they were even quoted as saying like even a 5-year-old could have done it. But
Oh, jeez.
and they paid. I can't remember how much the bounty they paid was. It was a few million at least,
Yes.
and so they paid a few $1 million for the ransom, and to get. When you pay for ransomware, what you're getting in return from the hackers, I mean, one, it's a promise to go away and not leak your data, but two, they give you a decryption key or a decryption tool.
Okay.
And so Colonial paid for this decryption tool, and it was so slow that they actually had to ditch the tool and ditch the encrypted data and go from backup. So
Yes.
they paid millions for nothing there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
Hank, thank you so much.
yeah,
And we love to have you back.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
think
ready
so.
anytime.
We have
Yeah,
to-
we'll do probably like put some more question, and probably we'll hear more cases by the time, and we can talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Maybe we can make kind of the quarterly visit here, 2 months visit here. Yeah.
I'm down.
I love
Always
this
a new
topic.
idea, never a dull
He is a
moment.
busy person.
Yes,
He's
especially these
going
days.
everywhere. He's been interviewed everywhere. So we have to really get a time 6 months in advance. Yeah, are you available for us?
No, I can make time anytime.
So you are located in Calgary, like
Yep.
you live in Calgary.
Yeah, born and raised. Yeah.
Born and
Yes,
raised in Calgary. Okay,
Yep.
that's good to know.
Super duper. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you.
Thank
it
you.
was
Thank
really
you for
good
having me.
talking
Then we'll
to
talk
you.
again for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah,
for
so I'll
sure.
call then. Yeah, we can do the full hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we can take some calls too.
Yeah,
from
we
our viewer-
can take calls,
from our
or we
listener
can
next time.
get all the questions from beforehand.
Yeah. Or we can
And
get
that'll be-
beforehand.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to
Yeah.
people wanting to know different things, you know.
Yeah, and I can even try and if there's anything happening, we'll just talk about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
For sure. No, this is great.
Yeah,
Thank you so
very
much.
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much.
So guys, yes, I one and only Mr. Hank Fordham, and